In Praise of Dependent Arising. Jason Carper. Translated by Geshe Tupten Jimpa. He who speaks on the basis of seeing, this makes him a knower and teacher excelled. I bow to you, O conqueror, you who saw dependent origination and taught it. Whatever degenerations there are in the world, the root of all these is ignorance. You taught that it is dependent origination, the seeing of which will undo this ignorance. So how can an intelligent person not comprehend that this path of dependent origination is the essential point of your teaching? This being so, who will find, O Saviour, a more wonderful way to praise you than to praise you for having taught this origination through dependence? Whatsoever depends on conditions, that is devoid of intrinsic existence. What excellent instruction can there be more amazing than this proclamation? By grasping at it, the childish strengthen bondage to extreme views. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaborations. Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher. Like calling fox a lion, for a Tirthika it would be a word of flattery. Wondrous teacher, wondrous refuge, wondrous speaker, wondrous saviour, I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination. To help heal sentient beings, O benefactor, you have taught the peerless reason to ascertain emptiness, the heart of the teaching. This way of dependent origination, those who perceive it as contradictory or as unestablished, how can they comprehend your system? For you, when one sees emptiness in terms of the meaning of dependent origination, then being devoid of intrinsic existence and possessing valid functions, do not contradict. Whereas when one sees the opposite, since there can be no function in emptiness, nor emptiness in what has functions, one falls into a dreadful abyss, you maintain. Therefore, in your teaching, seeing dependent origination is hailed. That too, not as an utter non-existence, nor as an intrinsic existence. The non-contingent is like a skyflower, hence there is nothing that is not dependent. If things exist through their essence, their dependence on causes and conditions for their existence is a contradiction. Therefore, since no phenomena exist other than origination through dependence, no phenomena exist other than being devoid of intrinsic existence, you taught. Because intrinsic nature cannot be negated, if phenomena possess some intrinsic nature, nirvana would become impossible, and elaborations could not be ceased, you taught. Therefore, who could challenge you, you who proclaim with lion's roar in the assembly of learned ones repeatedly that everything is utterly free of intrinsic nature? That there is no intrinsic existence at all, and that all functions as this arising in dependence on that. What need is there to say that these two converge without conflict? It is through the reason of dependent origination that one does not lean towards an extreme. That you've declared, this excellently is the reason, O Saviour, of your being an unexcelled speaker. All of this is devoid of essence, and from this arises that effect. These two certainties complement each other with no contradiction at all. What is more amazing than this? What is more marvellous than this? If one praises you in this manner, this is real praise, otherwise not. Being enslaved by ignorance, those who fiercely oppose you, what is so astonishing about their being unable to bear the sound of no intrinsic existence? But having accepted dependent origination, the precious treasure of your speech, then not tolerating the roar of emptiness, this I find amazing indeed. The door that leads to no intrinsic existence, this unexcelled door of dependent origination, through its name alone, if one grasps that intrinsic existence. Now this person, who lacks the unrivalled entrance, well travelled by the noble ones, by what means should one guide him to the excellent path that pleases you? Intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent, dependent origination, contingent and created. How can these two converge upon a single basis, without contradiction? Therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appear as if it does not possess intrinsic existence. So you taught all this to be illusion-like. Through this very fact, I understand well the statement that to what you have taught, those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason. Why is this so? Because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. Through this very path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech being peerless, convictions arise in me also that your other words are valid too. You who speak excellently by seeing as it is, for those who train in your footsteps, all degenerations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone. But those who turn away from your teaching, though they may struggle with hardship for a long time, faults increase ever more, as if being called forth, for they make firm the view of self. Aha! When the wise comprehend the differences between these two, why would they not at that point revere you from the depths of their being? Let alone your numerous teachings, even in the meaning of a small part, those who find ascertainment in a cursory way, this brings supreme bliss to them as well. Alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance, though I've sought refuge for a long time in such an embodiment of excellence, I possess not a fraction of his qualities. Nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you, even this I think is fortunate. Among teachers, the teacher of dependent origination, amongst wisdoms, the knowledge of dependent origination, you, who are most excellent like the kings in the world, know this perfectly well, not others. All that you have taught proceeds by way of dependent origination. That too is done for the sake of nirvana. You have no deeds that do not bring peace. Alas, your teaching is such, in whosoever's ears it falls, they all attain peace. So who would not be honoured to uphold your teachings? It overcomes all opposing challenges. It's free from contradictions between earlier and later parts. It grants fulfilment of being's two aims. For this system my joy increases evermore. For its sake you have given away, again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth. Seeing the qualities of this teaching pulls hard from the heart, just like what a hook does to a fish. Sad it is not to have heard it from you. The intensity of that sorrow does not let go of my mind, just like the mind of a mother constantly goes after her dear child. Here too, as I reflect on your words, I think, blazing with the glory of noble marks and hallowed in a net of light rays, this teacher, in a voice of pristine melody, spoke thus in this such a way. The instant such a reflection of the sage's form appears in my mind, it soothes me, just as the moon rays heal fever's pains. This excellent system, most marvellous, some individuals who are not so learned have entangled it in utter confusion, just like the tangled grass. Seeing this situation, I strove with a multitude of efforts to follow after the learned ones, and sought your intention again and again. At such times I studied the numerous works of both our own Middle Way and other schools. My mind became tormented evermore, constantly, by a network of doubts. The night lily grove of Nagarjuna's treatises, Nagarjuna whom you prophesied would unravel your unexcelled vehicle as it is, shunning extremes of existence and non-existence, illuminated by the garland of white lights of Candra's well-uttered insights, Candra whose stainless wisdom orb is full, who glides freely across Scripture's space, who dispels the darkness of extremist hearts and outshines the constellations of false speakers. When, through my teacher's kindness, I saw this, my mind found a rest at last. Of all your deeds, your speech is supreme. Within that too, it is this very speech. So the wise should remember the Buddha through this teaching of dependent origination. Following such a teacher, and having become a renunciate, having studied the Conqueror's words not too poorly, this monk who strives in the yogic practices, such is the depth of his reverence to the great seer. Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with the teaching of the unexcelled teacher. I dedicate this virtue too towards the cause for all beings to be sustained by sublime spiritual mentors. May the teaching of this beneficent one, till world's end, be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be filled with those who find conviction in a teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May I never falter, even for an instant, to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting, by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Saviour through strenuous efforts over countless eons? As I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, Indra and the world's guardians and protectors, such as Mahakala, unswervingly always assist me.